Dwarf Arcane Journal. Let's do a full review. So actually, I recorded this already. This is my second time recording it. So Luca and I sat down and recorded it at the Mini Wargaming Studios, and I didn't like the way it visually looked because the overhead camera looking down at the book was not sharp enough. It was a little too blurry. So I just did re-record it right now at my home setup with a better view of the actual book so you can follow along. And I want to thank Games Workshop for sending me the book. It's awesome to have it early. Get prepared for it. There is going to be several battle reports for this Arcane Journal coming up, but for now you should know this is just not my first impression. This is my review after reading the book like 14 times. Luke and I, like I said, did a first impressions review. It's about an hour and a half long. It's in my members only section. I didn't want to like throw the clips away and trash it. So I uploaded it for the members only. And there's also a battle report up right now for members only where we play the Dwarf Royal Clan, sort of. But it's Pure Slayers with Ungrim Ironfist. It's a 1,500 point battle report. Only 1,500 points because that's all the Slayers I own right now. We wanted to play around with that, have fun with that. So that's up right now for the members only. And there will be a stream this Wednesday at 5:30 p.m. Eastern Time, and then Thursday at 5:30 p.m. Eastern Time. We will do, one night we'll do the Expeditionary Force, and one night we'll do the Royal Clan, and then we'll have plenty more battle raps after that. But for now, let's take a look at my review of the Arcane Journal. Okay, so we're going to do the new units in the book. We're going to start off with Thorgrim Ulriksson. I believe this is the younger version of High King Thorgrim. And unfortunately, this is the one real miss in the book for me. This is a 250 point Thane with 3 wounds. He has Lord stat. Well, he almost has Lord stat, so he's weapon skill 6. But 250 points. A few special rules. A decent weapon, plus 2 strength, AP 1, armor being 1, magical attacks. It comes with the rune of smiting and the rune of parrying. So -1 hit in combat. Like, that's all fine. Heavy armor. 4 board against killing blow, and anything with multiple wounds X. So not very defensive, unless you do multiple damage. And then I'm gonna gloss over him because he has this rule, the Grudge Stone. During the start of any turn subphase, a Thorgrim may set the Grudge Stone. One set, Thorgrim and any unit he has joined gains Unbreakable and automatically passes any panic tests. That's pretty awesome. However, once the Grudge Stone has been set, Thorgrim and his unit can't choose to flee as a charge reaction and cannot move other than to give ground or make follow-up or reform. So you can make yourself unbreakable, and then you can kind of take yourself out of the game. This is a problem dwarves currently have in the edition where the opponent can really avoid their big fighty units if they want to. And this is one that can make it so, like, honestly, if the opponent ever wins combat, they test the restraint and they just walk away. And you no longer have to engage with this unit. And he's 250 points. Like, you can make a significantly better character. Not unbreakable, mind you, but narratively he'd be fun, but this is the one real miss. I don't see myself using Thorgrim. I don't believe he has a model or model coming out, so he's gonna be like one of those create your own model type things, but no. Yeah. All right. We got past the one thing I don't care about in this book. Next, we have Ungrim Ironfist. Now, you can quickly scan the book right here, or the page right here. Really cool. I'm actually going to skip over him right now. Even though you can bring him in any dwarf army, like any either the Royal Clan or the Grand Army with the normal army for dwarves. I'm going to come back and talk about him when we talk about the Royal Clan. Like, again, he can be used in regular dwarf armies, but he's gonna really shine in the Royal Clan, so we'll come back and talk about him then. Burlock got brought back. Oh, wait a second, this little thing. Oh no, I can feel it. Bit stuck to the page somewhere. There it is. Anyway, sorry, Burlock Dempson is a named character from way back in the day. I remember this model, little power fist type engineer. So he's an engineer with decent engineer stats. Not that expensive, not that cheap. You can do prepared positions. You may entrench a single non-character model who's War Machine or Corlers or Thunderers. So you can count as being behind a low, defending a low linear obstacle. Not terrible. Range finding optics. So the real good part about the second half, command range of the model, which is 10. Reroll hits of 1 or single artillery dice. That's typical for engineer. In addition, Burlock and unit has joined. Do not suffer the -1 to hit modifier when shooting at long range. That's kind of cool. So you can join a unit of Thunderers and take away one of their shooting penalties. Ballistic skill shooting isn't ideal this edition, but if you can mitigate their penalties for shooting at long range or what have you, it's better. But 85 point tax. His own ranged weapon is only 10 inches, so he doesn't really do a whole lot sitting back and adding taking away the one negative to hit. Now there is a if you already watched or if I haven't talked about it yet, there is the Engineer Expeditionary Force that can also make it so like Thunders, for example, can move and shoot without penalty. Burlock can be in the unit, so they can move and shoot at long range with no penalty whatsoever, which is not terrible. But I mean, I'm almost thinking I'd rather just buy 85 points more worth of Thunderers. That's probably another 7 Thunderers, right? But not terrible. Okay, so his combat weapon, his little power fist, is strength artillery dice, AP2 with flaming attacks. It's kind of cool. Now, I get down on named characters that never really been my jam, so I'm a little negative on these two. Well, this is the only one I'm really negative on. This one, I think, is actually not a good character, not really a playable character. This, I think, Burlock actually has play. And I do think Ungrim, when we go back and talk about him, I think we'll see him in a lot of games, actually, even though, well, I'll get back to that. So, named characters, not really my jam. If you're into them, there you go. Engineer Sappers. We're going to talk about Engineer Sappers when we talk about Engineer Expeditionary Force, because they are locked to that detachment. So it's better to understand that force, and then we talk about the unit. Doom Seekers, however, can be taken as Dogs of War in Dwarfen Mountain Holds or Empire of Man. But remember, misbehaving mercenaries, you got to roll die before the game starts. On a 1, you have to roll on the something bad happened chart. They could end up with -1 movement for being drunk or something. So not likely, but it will happen every now and then. Either way, Doom Seekers are 50-point characters that I think you'll see a lot of play. Weapon skill 5, strength 5 base, toughness 4, 2 wounds, initiative 3, 2d3 attacks, and leadership 10. Okay, Whirling Blades of Death counted hand weapons. Matters for the way things are written. Lots of special rules. Impact hits D3 plus 1. MR2, all the typical Slayer rules. And then we also got Doomseeker. At the end of the game, if it's still alive, your opponent gets victory points. If it's dead, you get victory points. These guys have to seek their doom. I love that rule. And then First to the Fray, they can add 3 inches to any charges they want to declare and add D3 to the dice, the charge roll. So they charge a little bit faster, which is kind of cool. Actually, very cool, because you want them to charge with their impact attacks and 2d3 attacks. Now, their impact attacks use their hand weapon, which means they get AP1 because they have the Grommel weapon special rule. So D3 plus 1 impact attacks at AP1, strength 5, and then 2d3, strength 5, AP1 attacks. Not bad for 50 points. The best part about them is they're characters. Can't target, well, you can challenge, great, but you can't target them if they're close to other infantry. And I'm going to play a game upcoming where I'm going to put a Doomseeker in front of my Rangers, for example. The Doomseeker provides cover to the Rangers behind them, but you can't shoot the Doomseeker because he's a character. And then if you get too close, here comes the Doomseeker. I think we're going to see a lot of Doomseekers in the game. And always winning a 4+. Yeah, just 50 points, 5-0. Now, no magic item allotment, nothing like that. However, if I get to it shortly, or depending on the order you watch this, I'm going to timestamp everything. There is new Slayer tattoos that they can take, but otherwise, I'm thinking I'm leaving them dirt cheap at 50 points and bring several of them in a game. Doomseekers, I'm thinking, are awesome. Royal Clan Warriors, they are locked only to the Dwarfen Royal Clan, so we'll talk about them when we talk about the actual Royal Clan. Imperial Dwarf Mercenaries. Now, these, once again, can be Empire or Dwarf Dogs of War. You have to roll in the Mercenaries Misbehaving chart. And unfortunately, they're just more expensive Dwarf Warriors. So, they come with light armor. Not heavy, but you can buy heavy. You can buy shields. And you can buy spears. So I'm probably gonna, no, I'm gonna rephrase that. I'm definitely gonna buy some of these. I'm gonna put together all the Dogs War units to make a full Dogs War army. I know there's not rules for that, but you know, we'll do it anyway. So 24 dwarfs with spears, for 9, 10, buy them shield heavy armor, 11 points. It's, you know, it's not terrible. Weapon skill 4, toughness 4, 5 up save, sorry, 4 up save, and spears. Now, other than the fact that they're misbehaving mercenaries, honestly, like, you can make a... These are the only way to get dwarfs with spears, but you can make a better dwarf warrior, or sorry, let me rephrase that. You can make a cheaper dwarf warrior that's exactly the same inside the regular dwarf book in every way, except the fact that thrusting spears are an option for these guys. So the only real option for them are thrusting spears. You can only take one of the following. If you can take thrusting spears and crossbows, that would be awesome. But it's great weapons, thrusting spears, crossbows, or handguns. Only get one. The models are available to buy or on pre-order. And they look old as hell, and I love them, so I love them for that. Scout gyrocopters we will also talk about when we talk about the Dwarf Expeditionary Force. So dwarf carts. This is old-ass model that you can buy. It's on pre-order. I've never seen it before. I don't know where it's from. 65 points. The light chariot. Move 6. Toughness 5. 3 wounds. 5 up armor save. Why do we want this? Well, it could be a Bugman's cart or a miner cart. Impact hit is only D3. It's a light chariot, so no AP. During the command phase of your turn, if you're a Bugman's cart, you can, every dwarf unit within 6 gets +1 movement modifier. So if I hide this dwarf cart behind my dwarf units, they get just faster. And I'm thinking, I've played lists. They're probably not ideal ways of playing dwarves, but I've played lists where I have a very expensive dwarf hammerer unit, and they just never get into combat. If I went full melee, and every unit had a character with like the rune of, there's a rune that's 5 points, allows you to have move through cover. So spend 5 points for move through cover. Have this dwarf cart behind you. Now your unit of dwarf hammerers will see combat. They're gonna march 8 a turn. Eventually they'll get into combat. Is it still ideal? Definitely not. Is it gonna help you get your hammers into combat? Definitely. At a 65 point tax. I'll do it. I'm gonna play around with it. I'm 3D printing up some right now. I'll try them out. In fact, I'll make sure I have a dwarf cart in the stream this coming week. So there will be 2 battle reports, like I've already said. We'll make sure this dwarf cart at least one of the list. The other cart you can use a miner cart, not a child's cart, like a miner, like miners and stuff. You know, pickaxes and blasting chargers. It gives everybody within 3 the blasting chargers rule. So it's just like a strength 3 AP1 flaming it. Oh, it's right here actually. Strength. Oh, that's the explosion. It's not here. So there's the blasting charge options that miners and I think iron breakers can get. It gives them like a quick shot, 6-inch range, strength 3 AP1, like good for standing and shooting, throwing little grenades. It gives every unit within 3 of the miner cart that. So I don't know if that's ideal. I don't know if that's even useful at 65 points. But when this cart loses its last wound, it might explode in a 4+. Hey, there's a little 40k for you right there. On a 4+, you explode. Everything within 3 inches suffers D6 strength 3 AP1 hits. So maybe I'll march it at my opponent and hopefully it explodes in their lines. Actually, you know, I'm gonna try that. That'll be fun. But yeah, for the Bugman's cart, for the extra speed, you get a little tipsy, go a little faster. I'm actually a little excited for that. Goblin Hewers. We'll come back to these Runic Tattoos in a second, but Goblin Hewers, 120 point war machine. It's crewed by players, but only MR1. Not 2. Excellent. The way it fires, you roll an artillery dice plus D3 for every rank the opponent has, even incomplete ranks. So if the opponent is 19 models, 6, 6, 6, 1. So 6 in the front rank, 6 in the second rank, 6 in the third rank, and then 1 in the fourth rank. You're still rolling 4D3 shots. However, unless I'm missing something, this is terrible. So 1 Goblin Hewer per 1,000 points as rare. If you have any Slayers or Legend, those are Slayer characters. You can bring this in your Grand Army if you bring a Slayer character. Okay, let's talk about why I think this is terrible. So keep in mind it's 120 points. It's probably it should probably be more like 60 to 80 points. But only good target it shoots at is the least seen are the least effective unit in the game. This is for shooting at infantry. So with a 36-inch range, strength 4, AP1, cumbersome, move or shoot, whirling doom. Whirling doom is just how many shots it gets. So let's say you're firing at a unit with three ranks total, like 18 models or 21 models. You have an artillery dice. The average amount of shots you get in the artillery dice, so it's 2, 4, 6, 8, 10. Or misfire. So the average shot will be 5. The average shot you'll get on the artillery dice is 5 per turn. And then if your opponent has 3 ranks, you're adding 2d3. So what's that? 6 more shots. So on average, this thing will fire 11 shots. It's ballistic skill 3. So you're hitting all 4s. 5s for range. So let's round up and like be generous and say this thing gets 4 hits. And then wounds, say most targets on 3s at AP1. So let's be generous and say this thing kills 3 infantry. But a cannon does that better for 20 points cheaper. The cannon will get you 3 infantry more reliably for 20 points cheaper. And the cannon can do other things that the Goblin Hero can't do. This thing is only, its ideal target is infantry, but the cheaper war machine does the same thing for cheap. Like, let me rephrase that. This is a 120-point war machine whose ideal target is infantry, but a cannon, which is 20 points cheaper, on average will do better against that target. And this, the Goblin Hewer, will do worse against everything else in the game, whereas the cannon has play against other things. The cannon has play against monsters infantry. Cannon, I wish it was a great cannon, but it can hurt monsters. It can hurt enemy war machines. So I don't. The Goblin Hewer is actually the most disappointing thing in the book, not actually Ungrim, fortunately. Those are all the new units. Runic Tattoos. All right, little upgrades for our Demon Slayer type characters. Overtime. Runic Tattoos. Upgrades for our Slayer characters. Doom Seekers may purchase 3 tattoos. Demon Slayer is going to have 2. Dragon Slayer is going to have 1. They follow similar rules to regular runes, so no duplicating the same combo of runes on one character to another. And no more than 3 tattoos per model. They do not cost your runic allotment, though. Now, 3 tattoos on a Doom Seeker seems a little expensive. I don't think I'll ever put 3 on a Doom Seeker, but maybe we find a cool combo. The very first rune, the Rune of the Dishonored, is 50 points. It can only go on Demon or Dragon Slayers. That means you get a 3 aboard against your last wound. You give up no victory points if you're dead, and your opponent gets full victory points for your model if it's still alive. Narratively, it's really cool. How often do I use it? I don't know. It's 50 points. The next one, Rune of Endless Rage. So it's 40 points. It's very much like the Bretonian Old Virtue of Knightly Temper. Every wound you do, you can do another attack. Now, it doesn't keep on going, and it specifically says it does not apply to impact attacks. So if you put it on a Doom Seeker, it's not going to work on its impact attacks. But it's kind of cool. The only thing I don't know if I like it on the Doom Seeker, who will probably make good use of it because he'll charge a lot with his extra charge range. But it's 40 points. A Doom Seeker is 50. I'd almost rather have a second Doom Seeker than putting this rune on a Doom Seeker. And if it would be an auto include on a Demon Slayer if it wasn't only a turn you charged. But with falling back in order, follow-ups being charges, it does have play. I do like Rune of the Reckless here for 35 points. You have the Frenzy special rule, which is not that bad on infantry. However, during combat, oh no, this is one I don't like. Sorry, it's the next one I like. This is the one where actually I think is terrible. You get +1 to hit, but your opponent gets +1 to hit. Unless I'm bad at math, I've crunched these numbers in every which way. This is only a net negative like every time you use it, right? It's an extra attack, but your +1 to hit with your typical weapon skill 6 or 7 on the models that are going to use it is going to net your opponent a bigger buff than it actually gives you with their +1 to hit, unless you kill the entire fighting rank. So if you can kill their entire fighting rank, yeah, I don't know. Like, Frenzy is good for an extra attack, but there's a rune over here. It's 15 points for +1 attack. Like, you can buy a Demon Slayer, which, in fact, Luke and I did so in a battle report that recorded, it's up right now, where we bought multiple runes of Fury on a great weapon for a Demon Slayer, and then, like, a rune of Wrath for a tattoo for another attack. It's pretty killy, because he also had the Rune of the Hateful for 30 points. Hates everything. Now, you can't put 2 Runes of Wrath. You can't double up your Runic Tattoos. That's another stipulation. I think I forgot to mention that. So we played a character with a Rune of the Hateful, Rune of Wrath, 45 points, +1 attack, and hatred, just for his tattoos, not including his weapon runes. It was actually a pretty efficient character. For 25 points, +1 toughness for your Runic Tattoos. That's not terrible. Kind of dig it, actually. Then we have Rune of the Dauntless for 15 points. A model with a Runic Tattoo must always issue and accept challenges if possible, and maybe roll any failed to hit. That's actually really good as well. Warrior Rune is 10 points. A model with his Runic Tattoo is +1 to his weapon skill. Maybe if you mix it with a weapon, there's +1 weapon skill runes too, right? On actual weapons. You need to get a weapon skill 9 for the character to really matter. So unless you're going to stack your Slayer, you're probably a Demon Slayer to weapon skill 9. Pushing any additional weapon skill is not great. Well, actually, no. So +1 weapon skill on a Dragon Slayer, bumping him up to 7 is pretty good if you know you're going to fight a lot of weapon skill 3 things. And then 5 points for the Rune of Blazing. Your body burns, you do flaming attacks. I think we're going to see a lot of Runes of Wrath, Runes of Hateful. And then I'm going to figure out how to make the Rune of Endless Battle something I want to use all the time. Now, a Demon Slayer, it's 3 runes is just too expensive for me. Or, sorry, not Demon Slayer. A Doom Seeker, 3 runes is too expensive for me. I'd rather buy more Doom Seekers. And then for Demon Slayers, I only have 2 tattoos. And so far, every time I try to make a really cool Demon Slayer, I keep falling back on Rune of the Hateful, and then Rune of Wrath for +1 attack. That's like the best combo I'm seeing. Let me know if you see a different combo, but cool Runic Tattoos. Engineer's Weapon Runes, the most exciting thing in this entire book for me. I feel like this is a page that's going to see play in every Dwarf army moving forward. Well, maybe, no, every Dwarf army moving forward. So Engineer's Weapon Runes are, so lore-wise, runes are crafted onto weapons and armor by the runesmiths. Engineer's Weapon Runes are created by the engineers, tinkering with their handguns and crossbows. These are runes that can only go on only go on handguns and crossbows. Now, my first time playing around with this, my mind said, oh, it's Engineer's Weapon Runes. It can only go on engineers. And when I thought they could only go on engineers, like, that's awesome. What engineers are weapons, or sorry, ballistic skill 5. Make some really cool combos with these. But nowhere does it say it's only for engineers. It says the following can be inscribed on crossbows and handguns. The engineers inscribe them on crossbows and handguns. So Luke and I found a combo. We're calling him Beardy Harry. Like a little dwarf thing that we're going to see in 100% of lists going forward, I feel. If I'm wrong, I'm wrong. Let me know if you think I'm wrong. But a really crazy looking dwarf gunslinger coming up. Let's just go over these runes. Okay, runes, you can only have 3 on an item. You can't duplicate a combo of items from one character to another. Master runes, these ones here, only once per army. Otherwise, just regular rune type stuff. So the first one is the Master Rune of Slaying. It's 50 points. When making a wound roll against a troop type of behemoth, you always wound on a 3+, and it does D3 wounds. So that's not terrible. But then I started to think, wait a second. How do I ever... That's just a Troll Hammer or Torpedo, but worse. Because it only works against behemoth. The Troll Hammer works against everything. How would I ever take that? I can't figure a way to use this. I can't figure a way to make a character where this is not just take a unit of 5 fire drakes and put a Troll Hammer Torpedo on the unit leader. So this one I don't see. Other than the fact that a Troll Hammer Torpedo is 24-inch range, this can go on a crossbow, which is 30-inch range. But this to me just seems like an inferior Troll Hammer Torpedo. A Troll Hammer Torpedo will wound pretty much every monster in the game on 3 or 2. So it's just an inferior Troll Hammer Torpedo. That one's kind of a big mystery. Then we have the Rune of Piercing, which is pretty cool. So 40 points. It's actually a Master Rune. A rune inscribed with this weapon is +1 strength, and it pierces like a bolt thrower. So it goes through ranks. For 40 points, that means your crossbow or handgun is strength 5, and it pierces ranks. On its own, doesn't seem all that interesting, with some combos coming up that will be pretty cool. And then we have the Master Rune of Bursting Flame, 35 points, auto include, kind of busted. If you hit, a hit does 2d3 hits. On its own, that's awesome. Let's combo that up. Actually, let's go right to the combo. So let's go to let's put this on a Thane. Thane hits on 4s. Let's give him a handgun. So he has one shot that hits on a 4. The enemy has cover, long range, all kind of modifiers. If you get your hit, it's 2d3 hits, strength 4, AP 1. Kind of cool. Nothing to, write home about, right? What if we give him the Rune of Accuracy? No negative hit modifiers. None. 20 more points. For 55 points, you roll a die, I hit on a 3. I don't care if you have full cover. I don't care if I moved with my handgun. I don't care if you're in long range. I roll a die on a 3+. You take 2d3 hits. Wait, there's more. Let's add 15 more points to that combo. So we're at 70 points. Hey, a Thane can take 70 points worth of runes. You get multiple shots too, and quick shot. Now the quick shot's redundant with the Rune of Accuracy, but multiple shots too. The Thane rolls 2 dice. Every 3+, the enemy takes 2d3 hits. I don't care if I moved. I don't care if you have full cover. I don't care if you're long range. Roll 2 dice. Every 3+ is 2d3 hits. You can kill on optimal perfect dice rolls 12 mauls with this. With one shot. This is a 140 point character. This is, if you look at a 140 point character, yeah, fine. But like a war machine is about 100 to 120 points, right? This guy's a better war machine than the war machines are. This is Beardy Harry right here. He's gonna roll 2 dice every turn, every 3+, does 2d3, strength 4, AP 1 hits. Now, if you want to put on a crossbow instead, you get 30-inch range on that instead of 24, but you don't get the AP from the handgun. I just feel like this is going to be in 100% of dwarf lists that are trying, or 100% of competitive dwarf lists. It's just so cool. I love it. I love the combo. And then let's go back and finish the rest of the runes. We have the Rune of Concussive Force. It's 30 points. If you're hit by this weapon, you gain stupidity. It's actually, that's kind of good. If you have like chaff moving up the flank that you can't really deal with, the lower leadership or whatnot. Yeah, you got Skaven Gutter runners. You got some goblins on wolves. You can just give them stupidity, maybe take them out for a turn. I would rather do things that kill them, but it does have play. But yeah, that Master Rune of, Master Rune of Bursting Flame. And then these two combo. Okay, what else we got? We have the Rune of Molten Steel. 10 points to gain flaming attacks. Which is, flaming attacks aren't great this edition, but who cares? And then we have the Enchanted Rune. For 5 points, you can get your weapon magical attacks. That's kind of good because a little ethereal with vampire counts. That's really all you care about. I guess there's some Skaven targets where you care about magic attacks, but for the most part, magic attacks are, I never think about it until I need it. But either way, Engineer's Weapon Runes, they're a big hit for me, and I'm stoked for this book. Master Rune of Bursting Flame, Rune of Accuracy, Rune of Rapid Fire. And if you want to go a little cheaper, you can go ahead and put it on an Engineer. An Engineer's Ballistic Skill 5. You give them multiple shots too, quick shot, and 2d3 hits. So hitting on 2s, force range, 5s if they get cover. But if they have no cover, he's still spending a lot less points to get 2 shots on 4s for the most part. And every hit is 2d3 hits. Yeah, this is gonna be a fan. Even there's a new model. I feel like I feel like this is a new model coming out that was perfectly designed to be this dude. The page around here. Oh, I don't think he's in this book. He was on the Warcom article I saw. I want to note this too, not that it matters, but their Goblin Hewers on a different base than they recommend. Oh, such beautiful art. No, he's not in this book. Okay, yeah, there's a dwarf model coming out with his this style, big beard. He's standing on an oath stone. And he has a big old handgun, which is going to be my new Beardy Harry. So Runic Engineer Weapon Runes, big hit for me. Ah, no pun intended. We got Dwarfen Mountain Holds Royal Clan, the first of our new armies of infamy in this book. So, what do we have for actual composition? We must have one king or thane, 1+. We can have Anvils of Doom and Rune Lords, and we can bring Rune Smiths. Core must be spent on Longbeards, Quarrelers, and Royal Clan Warriors. We have a new unit right there. But no Rangers. Oh, no Thunderers, so nothing with Black Powder. Special is Hammers, Dwarf Carts. You can't bring Mining Carts. There's no Black Powder apparently in this list. And then we got War Machines. Oh, no, they're actually, yeah. So both Doors and Grudge Shores, you can bring up to 3 per 1,000 points. So old school War Machines. Rangers, Ironbreakers, and Iron Drakes can be rare. And this is very much like a, what was that, War of the Beard type composition. So no Black Powder, no modern technology. For mercenaries, you can bring Dwarf Mercenaries, Doom Seekers, and Goblin Hewers. And your Battle Standard Bearer can be a Thane or a Runesmith. So right here, a lot of restrictions. We've seen that plenty inside these composition lists, but special rules typically offset that, right? So what do we have for special rules? Whenever you do a follow-up move of 3 or more, or you charge, +1 strength. I like it. I don't hate that at all. We do a lot of following up in this game. So you get plenty of turns of +1 strength. Riches and Heirlooms. So you get to spend 25 additional points on magic runes for your characters and 25 additional points on your banners. Now, excluding the Royal Clan Warriors because they already have their 25 points included in on their card, and we'll look at that in a second. So this one, I don't know about. We already have very expensive characters. And is there a combo where you just needed a little bit more? Maybe. I don't expect to be using the Riches and Heirlooms that often. You end up spending too many points on your characters. However, off the top of my head, 25 points is just one more Rune of Fury on a weapon that only has 2 runes on it already for +1 attack. I can see a king using +25 points of magic runes, but I don't expect to use this a whole lot. Striking a grudge. So you pick an enemy character. You get additional bonus victory points to 75 at the end of the game if you kill them. And your whole army gets hatred against that character. Cool bonus, cool bonus, cool bonus. To me, nothing is like, oh, I need to play it. I need to play it. I feel like there's more restrictions than bonuses here. So no Black Powder stuff. +1 strength in the charge. 2 more magic items. And hatred of a character. I feel like we're giving up more than we're gaining. But theme-wise, this is, War of the Beard type stuff. I will play it for that purpose. Now, there are some melee-focused lists with a Dwarf Cart. Go check the review on the Dwarf Cart. So the Dwarf Cart, it's a Bugman's Cart, can make your units move a little faster. And 4 inches of movement to your army, so you can just march it up the field. We're going to do a battle report where we play around with the Dwarf Royal Clan, where Luke is going to play it. It's going to be melee focused. You'll probably have a big unit of Hammerers. Now, the Hammerers that are going to march 8 a turn are much harder to avoid than previously, right? So I'm sure you've seen it plenty, where a unit of Hammerers is just so hard to fight that your opponent just ignores them. Movement 4 over movement 3 actually is a big deal. I know there's going to be plenty of people saying, no, it's just a slow, but no, I think once you give those Hammers movement 4, it'll be much harder to avoid them. They're going to get into combat. You're still going to be able to avoid them if you're really fast, like an Elf or Skaven player, but they tend to do that kind of playstyle anyway. But either way, adding a cart on your Hammers will get them into combat. The thing is, nothing I just said there applies to Royal Clan only. That can be done in a regular Dwarf army. Now, the Royal Clan Warriors, the exact same stats as a regular Dwarf Warrior. They look a little more expensive, but they're actually not that much more expensive. So a regular Dwarf Warrior is 8. These guys are 10. But if you notice, these guys come with a shield. So they're really 1 point more expensive than your regular Dwarf Warrior. But you gain Gromnel armor and Gromnel weapons. So for 1 point over a regular Warrior, you're effectively gaining AP 1 on your melee attacks and reroll 1s to save. I think I'd pay that all day long for any unit in the game. That is actually super efficient. And same upgrade options, but they can purchase Stubborn for 1 point per model, which is also pretty good. 1 unit per 1,000. I think it's pretty good. I think if you want to spam Royal Clan Warriors, that's awesome. I think it's gonna be an effective unit. They're significantly cheaper than your other dwarf units. Not that much cheaper than Longbeards, but they're cheaper enough, like cheap enough. You can very easily overspend your points on dwarves, so I'm happy to take Royal Clan Warriors over Longbeards. And then for additional point, they can swap their shield for a Gromroll Great Axe. It's just a regular great weapon that's AP 3. Solid. I think Royal Clan Warriors are going to be a thing we'll see in plenty of Royal Clan lists that aren't led by Ungrim Ironfist. We'll talk about that. So represent this unit, you buy your Longbeard kit, you build them like hammerers, but you give them the axes instead of the hammers. That's effectively what you're doing here. So they're cross between Longbeards and hammerers. A cool unit for pretty cheap. It's something I think the dwarves kind of needed. But going back to the overall, you lose all your black powder stuff, you lose all your slayer stuff, you gain +1 strength in the charge, you gain a little bit more runes and a hatred of a character, and kind of a really points efficient infantry unit. I unfortunately do believe you are giving up more than you're gaining. I think slayers, black powder stuff, gyrocopters, these things are kind of necessary in a dwarf list, in my opinion. I think this is not my style. The next one, that's totally my style, don't get me wrong. That's what I think is overpowered. This one, I think, is going to be cool, themed, War of the Beard type stuff. And if you want to go infantry heavy, like lots of blocks of infantry, Royal Clan Warriors actually probably could carry you there. Is it going to be top tier dwarf list? I don't think so. Somebody better and more competent than me can find a way of using this even better than me. This is not really my playstyle. Not a single gyrocopter. That hurts me. No cannons, which I think are kind of hurts so much to have them not here. And then no Slayer stuff. Now, there is the character, what's his name? Thorgrim, the Slayer King, who's going to offset that. Not Thorgrim. Ungrim Ironfist, the Slayer King, who will work inside the Royal Clan and add a bunch of Slayer units. I think this is the way I will be playing the Royal Clan. I think this character here makes the Royal Clan very interesting for me. Ungrim Ironfist, Slayer King of Karak Kadrin, 315 points. Why is he so expensive? Okay, he's weapon skill 9. That's awesome. That's actually, gonna be hard for a lot of things to hit him. Toughness 6, again, pretty awesome. Otherwise, very similar stats we've seen in the past. Lots of rules, all the Slayer rules, unbreakable, all that kind of nonsense. Always wins on a 4. He wears light armor as a Slayer, nice 6-up save, but he also has a Slayer crown, giving him +2 to his armor save and a 5-up ward. So he's 4-up, 5-up. That's not overly defensive, considering you can spend significantly less points and make it a far more killy and far more defensive character for a lot cheaper. That's unfortunate. The Axe of Dargo is +2 strength, AP 3, magical monster slayer. Initiative 5, not terrible, but like I said, you can make a character who is cheaper, who is far more killy, and far harder to kill than Ungrim Ironfist. But why do I like him? Okay, so when he is the general of a Royal Clan army, you can now take Demon Slayers and Dragon Slayers. 0 to 1 Slayer unit per 1,000 points as core, and 0 to 4 Doomseekers per 1,000 points as special. Unlocking all the Slayer stuff in the Royal Clan. You can make a nice Slayer-themed army. Now, when he can join Hammerers, even though he has all these rules, he makes the Hammerers unbreakable as long as he's alive. It's kind of cool. So you have a nice Slayer character joining Hammerers. But why do I really like this theme? There is a downside here. I don't know the rules as intent. Luke and I talked about this quite a lot, and here's the interesting thing. Rules as written, 0 to 1 unit of Slayers per 1,000 points will be taken as core. But it doesn't override the regular stuff. So if you go to Royal Clan, where he has to be the general, at least 25% of your army must be spent on these guys anyway. So you make a 2,000 point list of Ungrim Ironfist. You make him your general. You've unlocked 0 to 1 unit of Slayers per 1,000 points can be taken as a core choice. But under core, at least 20% of your army must be spent on Royal Clan Warriors, Longbeards, and Quarrelers. Rules as written, you still have to spend 500 points on these units, and then can bring in regular Slayers as core. Now, the intent may not be the intent. I'm not gonna claim that it's probably not the intent. I'm not here to say that at all. I'm saying on Mountain Miniatures, because we're not doing tournaments, we're gonna play like these Slayers can be the only core you bring. You can spend your minimum core, your 25% core on these Slayers. That's gonna be our house rule, because we're not doing tournaments and we don't think it's overpowered. But rules as written, you still got to bring 25% of your army in these units. Now, is that the intent? Don't know. Is it overpowered if we bring Slayers as the only core? The only way to play a pure Slayer list is to house rule this character. So I guess you can say you can house rule anything you want and make pure Slayer list anyway. But there is an argument that might have been the intent, that as core. You know, but I don't know. What other reason could there be for making them core? Are you really going to spend 1,000 points on your special of these things so you can't fit Troll Slayers in there? So yeah, we're gonna play it as if you can play Slayers as core. Again, remember, that's gonna be our little fun house rule, because it's definitely not rules as written. And you know, people might rule it any way they want in their own home. But we have a battle report right now where we have a 1,500 point game of Ungrim Ironfist in all Slayers against some Orcs and Goblins. It's only 1,500 points because every Slayer I own only worked out to be 1,500 points. And there is like 6 Doom Seekers in the list as well. So Ungrim Ironfist is kind of overpriced for what he does, except for, you know, making a cool theme list. So we modify it to make it even cooler. But this is going to be fun. Expect to see a lot of Slayer themed battle reports on this channel. The Dwarfen Mountain holds Expeditionary Force. This thing's kind of OP. I think this thing is very strong. It's going to be a lot of fun to play for dwarf players and probably not their opponent. Okay, so army composition. 1 engineer, one plus engineer or engineer sapper. You can have 1 demon slayer or dragon slayer. You can have thanes and rune smiths. And 25% of your army must be spent on dwarf warriors, thunderers, and carts. 0 to 1 unit of rangers per 1,000 points. So you can make your whole core rangers, pretty much. 0 to 1 unit of scout gyrocopters as core per 1,000 points. So another new unit right there. We can take miners, scout gyrocopters as special, and then bolt throwers, grudge throwers, and cannons. 3 of them per 1,000 points in a rare. Or sorry, special. And your rare is gyro bombers, 1 unit of slayers, up to 1 unit of slayers, and then 2 war machines per 1,000 points of organ guns and flame cannons. Mercenaries, you can take dwarf mercenaries, doom seekers, and goblin hewers. You're an engineer, maybe a battle center bearer. I don't know if I ever want to do that, but you have the option. I don't think this list ever wants a battle center bearer, but there may be a cool combo. Special rules. So we're losing a lot of stuff here. What are we getting here? We got Expeditionary Marksman. 1 unit of Thunderers per 1,000 point in your army may be upgraded to Expeditionary Marksman. For +1 point, they can move and shoot without suffering any penalty. That's really good. And then Engineers can be upgraded to Expeditionary Marksman for 10 points per model. So the one thing I'm not too sure about is a Dwarf Engineer maybe upgrade to a Marksman. So Engineer. But is an Engineer Sapper, does that count as Engineer Sapper? I see both arguments and I'm not sure the answer. I think the answer is probably yes. Ultimately, it's not going to matter for the way I'm going to build the way I'm going to play this. I think it's probably meant that Engineer Sappers are engineers, but as a title, like as a Dwarf Engineer, I mean, no. I don't know. I'm just not going to do it to any Engineer Sappers, which is interesting because I don't want to bring any engineers on my list ever. Only sappers. You'll see why in a second. Now, organ guns, cannons, and flame cannons can reduce their toughness by 1 and lose the move or shoot special rule. So cannons and organ guns are already toughness 7. They go down to toughness 6 like everybody else's war machine, and now they can move and shoot. That's actually kind of useful in this list. And then subterranean assault. So you can place markers on the battlefield. And then your miners can come up from underground near those markers. You have to be within 6 of a marker, but outside of 6 of the enemy. Is it gonna make miners useful? I don't know. I'm gonna try it out and have fun with it, but everything else is gonna be awesome. So you have mobile, I'll air quote mobile, because you have 3-inch move. You have mobile war machines. You have mobile handgunners, even though I probably won't use them that often in this list. But we're gaining sappers and we're gaining scout gyrocopters. Let's find out what they do. Sappers are kind of they're annoying. They're going to be annoying. 70-point characters. Listed skill 5. So they have the dig in special rule. Draw more armor, stubborn. They take, you know, handgun type, engineering type stuff. So they can join a unit and entrench a unit, so they're behind partial cover and defending a low linear obstacle, which is interesting to me because I don't think you're ever going to use that special rule, because engineer sappers can only be in the Expeditionary Force, and that force is going to be a super mobile gun line type thing. I don't think you're ever going to want to dig in. You want to stay mobile, stay moving. Like, even your Thunderers can now move and shoot in this list. So I don't know why that's in here, actually. However, hostile terrain. Any model that ends its move within command range of one or more characters with this special rule, and this model is not fleeing or in combat, must take a dangerous terrain check. I'm going to bring 3 engineers. Engineer sappers in every list. I'm gonna block and redirect you with gyrocopters, scout gyrocopters, rangers, doom seekers. It's gonna be the ultimate guerrilla warfare from dwarves. And every time you move, roll a die. On a 1 you die, or take a wound anyway. Hostile terrain. There's tiny little dwarven landmines and potholes everywhere near the sappers. Everywhere within 9 inches of a dwarf sapper, or 12 is your general. I'm gonna make one of them my general, and then I'm gonna have a character, a Thane, with engineering runes to, well, we'll talk about those, but it just it's a very shooty list, and every time you move, you're taking dangerous terrain checks. It's kind of nuts. Think about a list, and I'll play this list on a stream this week. So Wednesday night and Thursday night, we're going to make sure we stream 2 dwarf battle reports. Luca will do a Royal Clan. I'll do an Engineer Expeditionary Force. It's going to be a very guerrilla warfare, annoy your opponent type list. I think it's going to be a very fun list for me to play. I hope Luca has fun playing against it. Every time you move, take a dangerous terrain check. Hopefully, he's just dying to his own movement. Then he's getting picked apart by tons of shooting that is moving around the field. Even the cannons, if you get, too good of an arc, or you want to move 3 inches to try to change your arc a little bit, your fire thrower is moving 3 inches a turn. I think the 3-inch movement on the artillery actually is going to matter in this list. And then we have scout gyrocopters. So 60-point gyrocopters. They are only toughness 4, and they only have a 5-up armor save, and they can take 2 per unit, not 3, but they do fly 10. And they're ballistic skill 4 with clatter guns. The clatter guns are move and shoot and quick shot, so they can march 20 inches and still fire. D6 strength 4 AP1 shots. And they fire 360 degrees because they're skirmishers. Wait, make sure. Yeah, they're skirmishers. So firing 360 degrees as skirmishers, marching 20 inches and shooting. If they shoot a target, because the gun range is ridiculously long. If they shoot a target within 12 inches of them, they're just D6 shots hitting on 4s. Strength 4 AP1. Add that in to the way this whole list is going to play. Oh, knocking the book all over the place. You have, I think this mitigates like all the dwarf slowness. Like you don't really do melee units. You have gyrocopters, scout gyrocopters, some artillery, doom seekers, which I think are kind of useful. Doom seekers near your rangers. You're moving and shooting. You're moving and shooting. You can play. I think Thunders can be as little as 5 in a squad. So probably 2 units of 5 Thunderers that are just moving and redirect, because it's not about moving your opponent. It's not about moving your Thunderers not into charge range your opponent. It's about redirecting them so that your opponent overruns into a different direction, so that when they charge your Thunderers or your gyrocopter or anything they charge, they take a dangerous terrain check from your sapper. And then if they overrun, they take another dangerous terrain check from your sapper. And hopefully they're not overrunning to multiple targets. So everything in your army is moving so that when your opponent does charge something, it's a minuscule, useless target that only gives up a few points. And then they are either going to overrun or stand still and move next turn. But it's about not overrunning into the next target and just keeping them demoralized by rolling their sapper tests. So Doomseekers and sappers near rangers are going to be a thing in this list. Lots of gyrocopters to gum up the works. Just to stand in front of you, like you're going to try to get into combat, you're going to charge one gyrocopter a turn. I do think there are people who are going to hate this list, hate playing against it. I already know this is like my jam. This is exactly what I want to do. And I know I won't be able to do it that often because it will be not fun to watch. It will be not, if a very competent player who masters this playstyle, it'll be frustrating to play against. And unfortunately, I won't be able to make a whole lot of battle reports with it because it will not be fun to watch. I'm pretty confident in that. I do think this is exactly what Dwarves needed, what they want. I do expect to see some Expeditionary Forces leading the way in competitive. Maybe, I don't know. You know, time will tell. Time will tell. Either way, it's going to be fun for half the people playing the battle report. I love this one. That's it. That's my thoughts. I'm stoked for this book. I am so excited for this one. I love it. Stay tuned for plenty of battle reports, but remember that there is another version of this review with Luca in it as well, and a battle report up right now for my members only. Check it out. Think about joining the channel. It helps, produce all these videos. Thanks for watching. See you in the next one. Happy wargaming.